Daniel, we got one from Facebook Live. They love you out there. Rayburn asks, what is the most standard thing to do in a 3-bet pot when you have ace-king in the small blind? And I know there's no other context, so it's all yours.
So he asked about ace-king in the small blind in a 3-bet pot. And I'm going to answer this a few different ways, because it's a pretty interesting question, and I actually have a hand just like this that I played in the high roller as well early on that I'm going to talk about in a podcast. But overall, a hand like ace-king, right, it's a drawing hand essentially, especially early on, right? Like if you're out of position and you're in 3 or 4-way pot and you don't flop an ace or a king, you've got nothing, right? You just have ace high. It's going to be very difficult for you to win this pot. Now, what's really important with ace-king in terms of determining its value is how many chips you got, right? If you're deep, and this is why these early levels, I always talk about, keeping your guard up and being more cautious. In these early levels, a hand like ace-king out of position, I think it's a really good hand to trap with, okay? So if somebody else has ace-jack, ace-10, ace-queen, maybe if you 3-bet them, they're just going to fold that. You don't really want them to, because if you flop that ace, you might get some more value. What I don't like to do, especially early on, is re-raise from the small blind or the big blind. Why? Because then, after the flop, you have to go first all the time. That's really bad. I mean, it's not bad, it's just tough. Even with ace-king, you might have a better hand than him. More often than not, you're not going to flop an ace or a king. So now let's say the flop comes queen 8-3, and you've been called. You bet. He calls. What do you do now? I don't know. If I don't know, how the hell are you going to know? Right? It's really, really difficult to play out of position. So often with a hand like ace-king, early on, like day one, I might set traps with it. If the raise comes from the button or next to the button, you can do that. But if the guy under the gun raised and you're in the small blind with ace-king, you're the one that needs to hit, not him. He's in position. If he's a decent player, he's probably not going to fold on any flops. So you're going to 3-bet, his flop's going to come jack 8-4, you bet, he calls, and now you're in no man's land, having no idea where you're at, no idea how to win this pot. And if he's a good player, he's going to bet on the turn when you check, no matter what he has. So I try to avoid that and play what I call small ball poker. And what that does, there's an added benefit. If you do that with ace-king, it allows you to play hands like 10-jack suited, 8-9 suited, pocket 7s, pocket 8s, because now they don't exactly, it allows you to play because they know that, sometimes he'll just call with ace-king too, so I can't just run him over. He does that with a lot of hands. Now, later in the tournament, once you get to day 3, which is where you're going, right? Now when you get ace-king in the small blind, if you're going to 3-bet it, you should be 3-betting it with the intention of saying, I'm ready to go, okay? So you're 3-betting, if they go all in, you're not folding. One of the biggest cardinal sins you can make is to 3-bet a really strong hand and then have to fold to a 4-bet. If you want to 3-bet as a bluff, then really bluff. Pick up the 9-deuce or the 8-3. I'd rather see you 3-bet with king 5 from the small blind than ace-king in the early stages. I know that sounds silly, but if you're gonna make it a bluff, and just have absolute air. All right.
Daniel, I think the context of the question was, suppose it's raised in 3-bet before it gets to you in the small
right,
blind.
Okay, yeah, no, actually, that's exactly what happened in the hand in the super high roller between me and. So I'll go with the hand that I had. Adrian Mateos, heard of him? Good young player. He won something, Monte Carlo high roller. Monte Carlo. So he raised to 2,500. This is a real hand that I played, so this should help answer your question. Justin Bonomo, he made it 2,500. The blinds were 500,000. We're starting with 250,000, which is a lot of chips. Now, Justin Bonomo re-raised from the button to 9,000. Okay? What do you think the standard play is here if you have ace-king in the small blind? Anyone? Yeah, early, but against all good players. Anyone have a guess? What do you think the standard play is? What would most people do with ace-king there? Yeah, 4-bet, right? So, people would 4-bet to something like, maybe that was 2,500 to 9,000. Maybe they're going to make it 25,000, 27,000. Now, that's the standard play. I don't always play standard. I decided to play it a little differently. I decided to just call. And when I just call, I have to ask myself, okay, so what do they think I have when I just call? What are the most likely hands that go raise, raise, and I call with? So those are jacks, 10s, 9s, maybe queens, something in that range. So my plan was to represent, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, they all think I have jacks, 10s, or 9s, so that's how I'm going to play it. But I also have ace king, for real. So I kind of had the best of both worlds, what I was going to represent and what I had. Because when you call a raise and a re-raise, your range of hands that you can have is really narrow. Like, they know you don't have a goofy hand, like 6, 7 of spades, or, you know, king 9. They just know that you either have, like, ace queen, ace king, big pair. So ideally, the reason the standard play is to 4-bet is because it's hard to play your hand face up out of position. It's very, very difficult and not something I advise. So, despite the fact that I called in this spot for the Facebook Live guy, I would say stick with 4-betting because there's a lot of meat out there, right? There's a lot of protein. I don't know why I went there, but so there's a lot of chips. There's a lot of chips out there already. You want to go ahead and 4-bet with the ace king. Now, the problem with doing that, of course, is what are you going to do if the under the gun guy or the other one makes it 5? Okay, that's where reads come into play, but essentially you've turned your hand into a bluff. Because if you get 5-bet, they're saying, listen, I know you might have aces or kings, but I'm raising you anyway. What does that tell you? So do I got them too. So, difficult situations you put yourself in. Not my strength necessarily, this re-raisey stuff. It's I leave it for the young kids. Next question.
Come on, audience. You guys didn't come all the way down here just for the free coffee. Come on. Anybody? Oh, here we go.
I know that guy.
Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Chris. He's good, by the way. If he's at your table, he's going to try to bluff you.
As an ambassador growing the game, which direction do you think poker is headed? How can we improve in that direction?
So the question was, as an ambassador to poker, in terms of, you know, the question was like, where do I think the game is headed, and what can we do to help promote it? Well, I think the game, game's in a good place globally, right? Obviously, if you're specifically looking at high stakes online poker, that's probably not something that is growing, because what happens with high stakes play is these guys are really smart, they're sharp, and they only play when there's, I'm going to use the analogy again, meat on the table, right? When there's somebody worth playing with. So as player, and it's very, very difficult to beat online high-stakes cash games because it requires a lot of skill. So I think the future is going to be more towards like fun poker, right? Recreational, like, you know, specifically for online poker, like spin and goes, things that people have like 10 minutes to play. Did you qualify in a spin and go? Congratulations, we're going to get to you in a minute. I think that focusing on the fun aspects of poker is like really, really important, right? Because the whole reason people got into this game was because they enjoyed it from an entertainment perspective. They also saw the opportunity to make a decent, you know, maybe make some money doing it, not necessarily as a vocation. One of the most important things I think we need to focus on going forward is like, what kind of experience is enjoyable for people like that? And what's not enjoyable is a kid in a hoodie with glasses and headphones taking 45 seconds to look at his cards every time, right? These guys, I can't authorize, you know, punching people in the face, but I do think it in my head. Like when I see it, like I think to myself, like I would love to actually punch this guy in the face. Like friendly, like a friendly love tap. Nothing crazy, right? Not like, no meat behind it. But in terms of growing the game, I think that really it's all about bringing new people in, right? And one of the ways that PokerStars does that is we do ads with people that they know. So Cristiano Ronaldo and you know Neymar and people like that are people that they go, oh, I know these guys, right? And they play poker, so maybe I will too. We had in the Super High Roller a surprise. Have you guys heard of Kevin Hart? Kevin Hart. Yeah, he played in the High Roller. He actually spent $200,000 on it. He rebought. But stuff like that. Is he here right now? He's going to be playing today. Yeah, he's going to be playing the main event. Kevin Hart's here today playing in the main event. But stuff like that, right? He gets more mainstream, brings in new people who maybe didn't hear about poker. So a combination of making sure that you're, you know, keeping it fun, offerings that allow recreational players to just enjoy themselves and not feel like they have to, you know, put in the grind, and then, you know, getting new people into the game. But I think the game's in a good place. Like, we just opened Portugal. Portugal didn't have online poker for a while, and we just got it regulated. PokerStars is in Portugal, and it's become the second, outside of PokerStars itself, it's the second largest, basically like poker site in the world. It's pretty amazing already. Yeah.